With Invincible Shield, their upcoming 19th record, due out on March 8th, I thought it'd be wise to rank the last 18 studio records of Judas Priest on this 17th episode of Album Rankings. So I'm not going to waste any time, I just want to get right to it. We begin at number 18 with Nostradamus, the band's 16th studio record. It focused on the 16th century writer Nostradamus. It was a double album and the band's first concept album, released on June 17, 2008. The Nostradamus concept idea originated from their manager, Bill Kirbishley, and was pitched to Judas Priest while on tour in Estonia in 2005. Produced by founding members Glenn Tipton and KK Downing, this would be the last record for KK before he retired in 2011, quote-unquote. The title track was nominated for Best Metal Performance at the 51st Annual Grammys. The song Visions was also nominated for a Grammy in the category of Best Hard Rock Performance. Next, at number 17 is Judas Priest's 14th record, Demolition, released on July 16, 2001. This would be the second and final studio record for Ripper Owens on lead vocals before Rob Halford returned to the band. I like the songs Machine Man, Hell is Home, Metal Messiah, Lost and Found, and Subterfuge. I don't even get why this album got so much hate over the years. Mainly because they wanted Rob Halford back and they didn't care too much for Ripper Owens. I thought Ripper Owens did just fine with Priest. Now he's doing great with KK's Priest, working with KK Downing, and the rest is history, I guess. Moving on, at number 16 is Judas Priest's 13th record, Jugulator. It was released in Japan on October 16th, 1997, the rest of the world on October 28th of that year. It was the first record since Painkiller, and the first of two studio records the band recorded without Rob Halford, and with an American singer named Ripper Owens. This is the only Judas Priest record that has never been released on any major digital media website, due to SPV failing under and going bankrupt in 2009. Despite the fact that Bullet Train was nominated for a Grammy for Best Metal Performance in 1999, songs like Death Row, Burn in Hell, and, of course, the title track, this album was nothing to write home about at all. At number 15 is Judas Priest's debut record, Rock'n'Rolla, released on September 6, 1974, produced by Roger Bain. According to the band, the entire album was played live in the studio rather than having individual musicians record alone. Roger Bain had made a name for himself as the producer of Black Sabbath's first three records, their self-titled one, Paranoid, and Master of Reality. It was the only album to feature drummer John Hinch. He was soon replaced after this album was released. Rock'n'Rolla had songs like Run of the Mill, Deep Freeze, Winter Retreat, Cheater, Run for the World, and the title track. Next, at number 14 comes Judas Priest's 11th album, Ram It Down, released on May 13, 1988. This would be the last album to feature longtime drummer Dave Howland. It was promoted in Europe and North America with their Mercenaries of Metal tour. This would also be the last album to be produced by Tom Allom until 2018's Firepower. All the songs were not to write home about except for the epic Blood Red Skies, which happens to be my favorite song, and it stood out from the rest of the album. All the other songs in the album, I didn't care too much for, nor did I care for the title track of that. At number 13 is Judas Priest's 7th record, Point of Entry, released on February the 27th, 1981. This was the time they were in between British Steel and Screaming for Vengeance. Point of Entry had 3 singles released on the record, Heading Out the Highway, Don't Go, and Hot Rockin', all of which had accompanying music videos. Heading Out the Highway had been a staple of the live shows ever since its release. Desert Plains was regularly played throughout the 80s, and in 2002, and Hot Rockin' was returned to the setlist in 2005 when they reunited World Tour, where Priest also played Solar Angels on rare occasions. This album, since its release, has gone gold, but it will not become successful as the next record, Screaming for Vengeance. At number 12 is Judas Priest's 17th record, Redeemer of Souls, released in July of 2014. This was the first album without founding guitarist K.K. Downing, who quit the band in 2011 and was replaced by a new guitarist by the name of Richie Faulkner. It also marked the band's last album to be produced by Glenn Tipton. The record sold about 32,000 copies in the United States in its first week, and it peaked at number 6 on the Billboard 200 chart, making it the band's first top 10 album debut in the U.S. Imagine that. I like the songs Redeemer of Souls, March of the Damned, and Dragonaut. Next, Turbo. The 10th studio record from Judas Priest comes in at number 11. Released on March 21st, 1986. This was notable for the band's change to a commercial glam metal sound that had them using synthesizers for the first time. Following the success of their previous record, Defenders of the Faith, they initially recorded a double album which intended to be released under the title Twin Turbos. One of the albums would have been more commercial and the other half would be more aggressive heavy metal, but that idea was scrapped. Instead, the material was split up with more commercial songs appearing on the album Turbo. Thanks to songs like Locked In, Parental Guidance, Turbo Lover, and Wild Night, Hot and Crazy Days, this record would probably be the final platinum album for Judas Priest. At number 10 is Sin After Sin, Judas Priest's third record, released on April 8th, 1977. It was their major label debut for Columbia Records, produced by Deep Purple bassist Roger Glover. It was their only album to feature Simon Phillips, a studio musician who replaced original drummer Alan Moore for the recording sessions. This was just after they released Rockarola and Sad Wings of Destiny from the small gold label. The Judas Priest grew dissatisfied with what they saw as a lack of financial support from the gold record company. Thanks to songs like Diamonds and Rust, Starbreaker, Descendant Aggressor, which was covered by Slayer on their South of Heaven record, this was not a bad album, to be honest with you. Deserves to be in the top 10. Next. At number 9 is Judas Priest's second record, Sad Wings of Destiny, released on March 26, 1976. It's noted for its riff-driven sound and a wide range of Rob Halford's vocals. The album displayed a wide variety of styles, moods, and textures, inspired by an array of groups like Queen, Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, and Black Sabbath. The centerpiece was Victim of Changes, an 8-minute track featuring heavy ripping, trailing off with the high-pitched vocals. There was also songs like Tyrant and The Ripper, and Genocide and Island of Domination. At number 8 is Judas Priest's fourth album, Stained Class, released on February 10th, 1978. Stained Class is the only Judas Priest album to feature songwriting by all 5 members of the band, with newly auditioned Les Binks on drums, earning a songwriting critic for the song Beyond the Realms of Death, and bassist Ian Hill. He received his first writing credit on the co-writing song Invader with Rob Halford and Glenn Tipton. Stained Class is considered to be the album in which Priest honed many of elements of the hard-edged signature sound, dispensing with the most of the progressive and blues rock overtones and softer ballads of previous efforts. It is known for songs like Exciter, Better By You, Better Than Me, a Spooky Tooth cover, and Beyond the Realms of Death. Next. At number 7 is Priest's fifth album, Hell Bent for Leather, aka Killing Machine, released in November of 1978. Hell Bent for Leather was released in the U.S. on February of 1979 due to controversy over the Cleveland elementary school shooting. However, Rob Halford simply said that the US label found Killing Machine to be too many of a heavy statement to use, so they chose Hellbent for Leather as an alternative. They had songs like the title track and the Green Manalishi with the two-pronged crown, and of course songs like Delivering the Goods and Before the Dawn. This was actually a phenomenal album, to be honest. At number 6 is Judas Priest's most recent album, Firepower, released on March 9th, 2008. This was the first time Tom Allom, in 30 years, has returned to produce the album along with co-producer Andy Sneap, who would end up touring with Judas Priest when Glenn Tipton went down with a disease. It reached number 5 in the UK and number 5 in the Billboard 200, making it the highest charting album in the US for them. Thanks to songs like Lightning Strike, Spectre, No Surrender, Never the Heroes, and of course Firepower. This was probably the best work Judas Priest has done since Painkiller. Next, we now get to the top 5, and at number 5 is Judas Priest's 15th record, Angel of Retribution. This was the first time Rob Halford had returned to Priest since Painkiller. The album made it to number 13 on the Billboard 200 charts in America, which makes it the 4th highest Priest charting album in the United States, produced by Roy Z, who co-wrote the song Deal with the Devil, and won a 2005 Metal Hammer Award for Best Album. In my opinion, I ranked it 2005's Album of the Year, thanks to songs like Demonizer, Judas Rising, and, of course, Revolution. Next, at number 4 is Judas Priest's 9th record, Defenders of the Faith, released in January of 1984. I've covered this on my album review series. It had reached number 17 on the Billboard 200 and went platinum. It spawned 3 singles, Free Will Burning, Some Heads Are Gonna Roll, and Love Bites. I also like the song Night Comes Down as well, which was actually a great successful follow-up to Screaming for Vengeance, as far as I'm concerned. Next, at number 3 is Judas Priest's 12th studio record, Painkiller, which was released on September 14th, 1990. This would be the last Judas Priest album to feature longtime singer Rob Halford until his return for the 2005 record, Angel of Retribution, and the first to feature Scott Travis, who would serve with Judas Priest up until this day. Judas Priest's Painkiller was the first album I ever purchased back in 1990, and it was produced by a British producer by the name of Chris T. I can't even pronounce his last name. I hope somebody can pronounce it for me in the comment section. I don't know. But this album had a lot of killer tracks on there, like every single one of them. Next, at number 2 is Screaming for Vengeance, Judas Priest's 8th studio record. Much like Defenders of the Faith, I covered this one on my album review series. You can go check it out yourself. It was the most successful record in the United States, going double platinum in the United States and in Canada, thanks to such hits as The Hellion, Electric Eye, You Got Another Thing Coming, etc., etc. But Screaming for Vengeance deserves to be number 2 on this list. Next, and coming in at number 1 is Judas Priest's 6th record, British Steel, released on April 11th, 1980. This was the album that kickstarted heavy metal's glory days of the 1980s, thanks to songs like Living After Midnight and Breaking the Law. This was the album that kind of broke Judas Priest in the United States. Judas Priest would never got that success in the United States if it hadn't been for the album British Steel. And you could talk about albums like Screaming for Vengeance or The Defenders of the Faith, or even earlier albums like Sad Wings and Sin After Sin. But British Steel was what made Judas Priest a household name from their home country of England to here in the United States. So here is a quick recap of all 18 Judas Priest records that I ranked. From Nostradamus to Demolition, Jugulator, Rockarola, Ram It Down, Point of Entry, Redeemer of Souls, Turbo, Sin After Sin, Sad Wings of Destiny, Stained Class, Hellbent for Leather, aka Killing Machine, Firepower, Angel of Retribution, Defenders of the Faith, Painkiller, Screaming for Vengeance, and number one, British Steel. This is going to be the first of two album rankings episodes I'm doing because I missed last week due to a family member having a birthday, so I had to celebrate that. So stay tuned for the next episode of album rankings in a little bit.
No.